I feel so lucky for the people I get to meet when I am working as a hospice nurse. Some patients, some families are just so fascinating. And I leave there with this feeling of like overwhelm, like I want to weep. I always say that, this whole word of like weeping, because that's what it feels like. It feels like I want to like weep tears of joy because I'm so overwhelmed by the fact that like I got to meet this family. When someone is like 100 years old, give or take a few years, right? They have lived a life. They've lived a long life and they have a lot of history. And when their families are involved, sometimes you get a glimpse into their life and it's just so amazing. You get to see pictures and pictures of them when they were little and their parents and their parents' parents. And you see this lineage of humans that have brought you to this point today where you are with their children and grandchildren. You know, when someone's 100 years old, they were born in the 1920s. And, you know, like this family that I was talking to today was born in the 1920s in New Orleans. The 1920s in New Orleans? Imagine. Like, what it was like 100 years ago. What it was like when she was a 10-year-old in New Orleans. And then to hear about how her and her husband moved to Los Angeles on their own to start a family and start businesses. And they were wildly successful in Los Angeles. And 25 years later, they were able to go back to where they grew up, where they both were like dirt poor. And to help their family out. And the patient had been mostly asleep the whole time. I was mostly talking to her daughter and granddaughter the whole time. And at the very end, I happened to notice that she was like awake and blinking her eyes. So I went over to her and I was like, hi, you know, introduced myself. And she smiled and was very, you know, it was very brief, but like, hi. I said, are you comfortable? She said, yes. And I said, thank you for raising such a good family. And she said, you're welcome. And then her family was like, it was just so sweet. It was just so sweet. It's so amazing. And people's lives are so amazing. People's lives are so amazing. People are so amazing. This is what I have to remember when I am spinning in my head about like the world we're in today. You know, there's still goodness in the day-to-day connection. And like it truly is one of the greatest gifts of my life. One of the greatest gifts in my life is this.